Hello, good evening. Welcome to St. Peter's in Hove. I'm Father Alexander. Welcome to our 49th step in our walking tour through the Bible. Now, we've got to the bit of the book of Deuteronomy, which starts at chapter 12, which is entitled the Deuteronomic Code. And this is the list of laws that Moses is giving to the people. Incidentally, if you do have a copy of the Jerusalem Bible, there it is. It's really useful, I find, that it's got all these subtitles and all these divisions in it. So it gives it to you in bite-sized chunks. Now, in the Deuteronomic Code, we find some things that are absolutely at variance with our own tradition, such as in chapter 12, the regulations to do with worship. It says, when you take possession of the land, there's a place where the Lord will make his home. That means Mount Zion, it means the temple. And every other place of worship is to be banned. There are to be no high places, no minor temples, and there's to be no other form of religion is to be tolerated. And throughout, and so there's only going to be one place of Jewish worship, that's the temple in Jerusalem, nowhere else. And then, of course, there's a long disquisition against the cult. So not only is it saying that orthodoxy is important, right belief, in other words, you must shun the cults, in fact, much more than shun the cults, you must actually kill anybody who even suggests you join a cult. Not only is orthodoxy the right thing to do, but there's also orthopraxy. It lays down that God is to be worshipped in one way and one way only. Now, what the Deuteronomist is saying here is not simply the unity of the faith, but he's talking about uniformity of the faith. And this, for us Catholics, is really a rather alien concept. Now, in Britain, in England actually, we had the Acts of Uniformity. The Acts of Uniformity were passed by Parliament, forcing everybody to worship God according to the Book of Common Prayer. Now, the Catholic Church has never had such liturgical uniformity because, as you know, there are well over 20 rites in which God can be worshipped. So, for example, there are Maronite Catholics, there are Antiochene Catholics, there are Byzantine Catholics, there are Greek Catholics, there are Ukrainian Catholics, there are Mozarabic Catholics, there are various Syro-Malabar Catholics, there are Coptic Catholics, and of course, there are Latin Catholics, such as myself. And there are also, in the family of the Latin Church, there are various other rites. There is, of course, the Ordinariate Use. Let's not forget that. The Church has never, ever insisted on uniformity. It's rather talked about unity and diversity. That is to say, we can all worship God in various ways, but we worship with the same heart. Now, that's really important because this Deuteronomist has got it thinks that only Jerusalem is the place for the worship of God. Now, this does seem a little bit political, because what he is going on about really is the sin of Jeroboam, son of Nebat. As we'll read in the book of the Kings, Jeroboam, son of Nebat, set up the kingdom of Samaria. He rebelled against Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, and he opened his own temple. He opened his own temple because the people were going to Jerusalem. And he thought if they keep on going to Jerusalem, they will eventually return to the house of David. Now, this idea, therefore, was essentially political. The idea that there could only be one temple because there could only be one government, there could only be one kingdom. In fact, there were two kingdoms, and therefore the Sumerians and later the Samaritans were not proper Jews, is the idea. And indeed, the Samaritans, or people of the northern kingdom, are constantly criticized for not being proper Jews. So this uniformity, ask yourself, are you called by God into unity, or are you called into uniformity? Actually, it's unity each and every time, because uniformity might well look like unity, but completely mask disunity. If we all do the same things, it doesn't mean to say we are united. To be united is to be something at the level of the spirit, the level of heart and soul, rather than the level of outward action. Therefore, please, let's not get carried away and let's not embark on a crusade for uniformity at all costs, which was, of course, what Henry VIII did with the Acts of Uniformity, also his son Edward VI, and also Elizabeth I. Uniformity, because anything else was politically dangerous. Uniformity has always been a political thing. Now, there's something else, though. There's quite a lot about idolatry, how dreadful that is. But there's also this, which I think is a rather beautiful passage from Deuteronomy, which I hadn't come across before. Chapter 15, verse 7 to 11. Now, it's been talking about sabbatical year when all debts are forgiven. And Moses asks, is there anyone poor among you, one of your brothers, in any town of yours, in the country which the Lord your God is giving you? Do not harden your heart or close your hand against that poor brother of yours, but be open-handed with him, and lend him enough for his needs. Do not allow this mean thought in your heart. The seventh year, the year of remission is near. In other words, his debts will be soon forgotten, so let's leave him. And scowl at your poor brother and give him nothing. He could appeal against you to the Lord, and you would incur guilt. When you give to him, you must give with an open heart. For this, the Lord your God will bless you in all your actions and in all your undertakings. Of course, there will never cease to be poor people in the country. And that is why I'm giving you this command. Always be open-handed with your brother and with anyone in your country who is in need and poor. Now, generosity comes from the heart. Have mercy on the poor, be kind to the poor. The only thing is here, we've got a little bit of a contradiction. Is there any brother of yours? Presumably means any fellow Israelite. Then you must be nice to your fellow Israelites. Now, everybody believes that we should really be nice to our own kith and kin. Later it says, right at the end, it says this, always be open-handed with your brother. Yes, okay. And with anyone in your country who is in need and poor. So I'm saying not just the fellow Israelites, but also foreigners, slaves, people like that, other people who have no particular claim of kingship on you. Now, this is important that we as Christians believe that we should be good to our brothers and sisters. Absolutely. And so does Moses. You must be good to your brothers. What Jesus Christ did, of course, is took the concept of brother and made it universal. That's the point of the parable that passage looks forward to. Who is my brother? Well, it turns out everybody is your brother. The Samaritan recognizes universal brotherhood, whereas the priest and Levite do not. They only want to look after their fellow Jews. So Moses is telling us, be generous to your brother. Well, that's a good starting point, because people who are mean to foreigners, mean to people they don't know, generally also mean to their nearest and dearest. So be good to your nearest and dearest, but let's not just stop at your nearest and dearest. Let's spread it. It's a beautiful passage, that. Moses has got great eloquence, I think. I love this turn of phrase. Is there anyone poor among you? Oh, no, there's not. Oh, no, never seen a poor person. Come off it. Is there anyone poor among you? Yes, of course there is. And then, of course, there's this wonderful practicality. Again, our Lord says this, the poor you'll have with you always. And Moses says there will never cease to be poor people in the country, which seems to recognize that the poor, even though there's every 7 years the forgiveness of debt, the poor will, and that will sort of allegedly flatten out and give an equal starting point to everybody. Nevertheless, after the 6.5 years, poor people will emerge, that some will do well, some won't do well. There'll always be poor people among us. We mustn't blame the poor people for being poor. It's just the way it is. And even though they may be, maybe they had a good start in life and they didn't do very well in life, nevertheless, let's be kind. Let's be compassionate. Wonderful wisdom from Moses. All the best. Bye.